Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Drill Team Soloist. These elite soldiers from the drill team will now display a series of dangerous and complex maneuvers. These experts have trained for years to become part of this daring routine, which involves complex timing and precise movements with zero room for error. In addition to their roles here, these soldiers also serve as senior trainers, imparting their expertise to the next generation of drill team soldiers. Today's soloists from left to right are Sergeant John Soden from Atlantic High Grounds, New Jersey. Sergeant Keith Callis from Nashville, Tennessee. Sergeant Joshua Cox from Orlando, Florida. And Specialist Joshua Beltran from Howey in the Hills, Florida. Today, the soloists are led by their drill master, Sergeant First Class Brian Hines from Athens, Georgia. This portion of the routine is extremely dangerous as soldiers throw their rifles inches from the drill master's face. These soldiers must throw and catch their rifles in perfect unison in order to avoid serious injury. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for the United States Army Drill Team Soloist. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like to recognize all of the veterans and their families that have joined us here tonight by performing the songs of the armed services. When you hear your service song or that of a loved one who has served, we ask that you stand and be recognized. Semper Paratus, the United States Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save or fight and die, high Coast Guard, we are for you.
Off we go, the United States Air Force.
Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high to the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder. Adam boys, give her the gun, give her the gun! Down we dive, spouting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live in fame, we'll go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
Anchors away, the United States Navy.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to foreign shores, we sail at break of day, of day. To our last night on shore, drink to the foam. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home.
Semper Fidelis, the United States Marine Corps.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Army Song.
March along, sing our song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Out of the cadence, loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know
joining us on historic Fort Myer on this beautiful evening. And if you love this country as much as I do, please join me in singing one verse of this great song. You ready? God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans lined with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. My
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. As a reminder, blank ammunition will be fired from some of the weapons this evening. So please be prepared if you or your children are sensitive to loud noises. Twilight Tattoo celebrates America's Army, the strength of the nation. For over 242 years, soldiers of your Army, active duty, National Guard, and Army Reserve have remained the nation's force of decisive action, committed to protecting our hard-earned rights and liberties at home and abroad. Our nation's greatest generations are built on the strength of America's strongest citizens, our servicemen and women in uniform. On behalf of our host, General Bob Brown, welcome to Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall and this evening's performance of Twilight Tattoo. The American Revolution was our 8-year-long struggle for independence. The conflict witnessed the birth of America's Army on 14 June 1775. Though the raw militia units that comprised that force were severely tested in the early years of the Revolution, under the leadership of General George Washington, a professional American Army emerged from the trials and tribulations of Valley Forge as a trained, battle-tested, and highly organized fighting force.
Sound assembly! To the front! Hard! Make ready! Take aim! Fire! Advance! Forward! To the front!
Ladies and gentlemen, the commander of troops this evening is Lieutenant Colonel Ryan J. Morgan, Commander, 4th Battalion, 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. The host for this evening's Twilight Tattoo ceremony is the Commanding General of United States Army Pacific, General Bob Brown. On behalf of the Acting Secretary of the Army, the Honorable Robert Speer, and the Chief of Staff of the Army, General Mark Milley, General Brown welcomes you to this very special presentation of Twilight Tattoo as we celebrate the United States Army's 242nd birthday. This year, we also mark the 100th anniversary of America's entry into World War I. Known as the War to End All Wars, this conflict would propel the United States onto the world stage. And so tonight, we commemorate that moment and honor the United States Army's 100 years of global engagement and partnership. Tonight, our honored guests include members of the United States House of Representatives, to include the Honorable Kristi Noem, representative from South Dakota, and her family. The Honorable Mike Johnson, representative from Louisiana, and his family. The Honorable Rattawagan, delegate of American Samoa, and her husband, Mr. Fred Rattawagan. Mr. Peter Barlerin, Acting Assistant Secretary of State, Bureau of African Affairs, and his wife, Mrs. Ines Barlerin. The Honorable Catherine Hammock, former Assistant Secretary of the Army Installations, Energy, and Environment. Lieutenant General, retired Thomas Spoer, Director, Center for National Defense, Heritage Foundation, and his wife, Mrs. Cynthia Spoer. Mr. Tim Bonds, Vice President, Army Research Division, and Director, Rand Arroyo Center. With us this evening are the United States Army's Global Service Component Commanding Generals who lead our soldiers worldwide. They are Lieutenant General Frederick B. Hodges, Commanding General of United States Army, Europe. Lieutenant General Michael X. Garrett, Commanding General of United States Army, Central. Lieutenant General Jeffrey S. Buchanan, Commanding General of United States Army, North. They join us this evening to demonstrate our close partnership with nations throughout the world and our continued commitment to global engagement. We are especially honored to have the military's attaché representing the United States' closest partners and allies join us this evening. Representing more than 35 countries, these officers stand together with the United States Army, united in the pursuit of peace and freedom around the globe. Since World War I, the Army's partnership with our allies around the world continues to grow. As we celebrate tonight, over 183,000 United States Army soldiers are serving in 140 countries, standing shoulder to shoulder with allied nations and partners defending our common values. General Brown is honored to host this evening's Twilight Tattoo and thanks our international partners and these military leaders for their dedication and commitment of their soldiers to ensure another century of cooperation and partnership. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as honors are rendered. Please be seated. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Joint Base Myer-Henderson Hall and this evening's special performance of Twilight Tattoo. Army Strong! The origin of American military music can be traced to the fifers and drummers of the Revolutionary War. This musical heritage is represented today by the soldiers of the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. These active duty musicians honor the soldiers of the past while displaying the discipline, professionalism, and precision of today's Army to audiences around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Corps concludes their performance with their stately and traditional troop step, we ask that you keep in mind the men and women of all of the United States Armed Forces that currently serve in harm's way. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. Less than a generation after the American Revolution, the Army was again called upon to defend our national sovereignty in the War of 1812. In battles that raged from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico, American soldiers endured and persevered. As our nation's capital and the entire Chesapeake region was threatened in the summer of 1814, a small force of soldiers and militia held out against an invading British army and fleet at a small post near Baltimore, Maryland.
Make ready. Take aim. Fire. Advance. Firelocks. We've been under constant attack for the last 2 days. The enemy has pressed us hard, and they've been shelling Fort McHenry almost nonstop. But the men endure the horrors of battle and the bombardment like veterans. The courage and strength of the regular soldiers and the militia remains unbroken. Despite the hardships, we have a bond. We trust each other and our officers, and we know we will prevail. This morning at dawn, the fort's commander ordered an enormous flag to be raised to show the enemy that we will not be defeated. They say it can be seen for miles. That flag is our nation's symbol, our badge of honor, and it will not be lowered for this or for any foe.
Over 200 years ago, our national anthem was born as Francis Scott Key observed our glorious flag continuing to fly over the ramparts at Fort McHenry. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join in singing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the right so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. America's Army played a pivotal role in shaping the early republic, but in 1860, clouds of war gathered once again on the horizon. During 4 bloody years of civil war, brave soldiers from both sides of a divided nation fought and suffered in battles that raged in places called Shiloh, Antietam, Gettysburg, and the Wilderness. Over 600,000 Americans died in the war between the states as brother fought brother to determine the fate of the country.
I was there in the winter of '64 when we camped in the ice at Nashville's door. 300 miles our trail had led. We barely had time to bury our dead. When the Yankees charged and the colors fell, Overton Hill was a living hell. When we called retreat, it was almost dark. I died with a grape shot in my heart. Say a prayer for peace, for every fallen sun. Set my spirit free, let me lay down my gun. Sweet Mother Mary, I'm so tired, but I can't come home till the last shot's fired.
At Five Forks we could see the end. Lee's broken army would never end. They fought with courage on Danville's hill, surviving on little but water and will. They never lost courage, they never lost fight. Toward Appomattox they moved in the night, and the generals met to put an end to war, and brother found brother together once more. Say a prayer for peace, for every fallen sun. Set our spirits free, let us lay down our guns. Sweet Mother Mary, we're so tired, but we can't come home till the last shot's fired. Till the last shot's fired. Till the last shot's fired.
till the last shots fall.
The peace achieved in April 1865 at Appomattox, Virginia, ended the conflict and allowed America and the Army to continue moving ever westward. American soldiers, among them African Americans known as Buffalo Soldiers, led the way.
We just got back from a rough run up in the mountains. Escorted 250 settlers all the way to Tucson. Got hit hard by Apache on the way back and lost more than a few men. My best friend here in the troop was one of them. Soldiering out here ain't easy. Scorching hot days, brutally cold nights, beef jerky and canteen water for the daily rations. But we all joined up for the chance at a better life and to serve our country. We're helping open up this great land. No matter how tough the conditions are, we're proud to be in the cavalry, proud of this uniform.
America's small frontier army would evolve into a larger and more complex fighting force that would first appear on the world stage in the Spanish-American War. Then, in 1917, the Army was called upon to deploy massive formations overseas to defeat the armies of the German Kaiser in World War I. Ladies and gentlemen, this year we commemorate the centennial of America's entry into the war. We recall the vicious trench warfare that raged across the battlefields of Western Europe, where American soldiers stood side by side with our allies, bringing about a victory in what became known as the Great War. Sergeant Alvin C. York, one of the war's great soldiers and recipient of the Medal of Honor, reflected on what was accomplished.
There are those who ask, you fought to make the world safe for democracy. What did it get you? Well, let me answer them now. It's not important what I got personally, but what we as a nation and an army achieved. By joining with our allies and gaining victory in this here war, we won a lease on liberty, but not a deed to it. We fought for the right of people to be free. Americans have always fought for that right. If we've stopped, then we owe the memory of George Washington an apology. For if we've stopped, then he and his men wasted their time at Valley Forge. Liberty and freedom and democracy are prizes awarded only to those people who fight to win them and then are ready to keep fighting eternally to hold on to them.
General of the Armies John J. Pershing founded the United States Army Band in 1922 in order to emulate the European military bands he heard while commanding the American Expeditionary Forces in World War I. Today, almost a century later, the Army Band continues to play an important role in events of national and international significance, staging performances in the National Capital Region and around the globe. We now welcome the United States Army Band Pershing Zone. America means freedom, and there's no expression of freedom quite as sincere as music. These are the words of America's most famous big band leader, Glenn Miller. The Army Band will now pay tribute to Glenn Miller's service to our nation by performing his biggest hit, guaranteed to put you in the mood. Pershing's Own will now conclude their performance this evening with the National March of the United States. John Philip Sousa's The Stars and Stripes Forever. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Army Band. Though World War I has also been called the war to end all wars, less than a generation after that conflict, the forces of tyranny and oppression again threatened our country and her allies in the Second World War. For 4 years, American soldiers and millions of men and women on the home front fought and worked together to decisively defeat the Axis powers around the globe. American soldiers stormed across the plains of Europe and assaulted island fortresses throughout the Pacific to stop the Japanese advance. Despite fanatic resistance by the enemy, American soldiers would emerge victorious in both the European and Pacific theaters in 1945. The peace that so many had fought and died for in World War II lasted just a few short years. In June 1950, the Cold War turned hot as American forces joined with the United Nations to resist communist aggression in Korea. Many American soldiers called to duty were veterans of World War II. Among them was Sergeant First Class Stanley Adams, who would be awarded the Medal of Honor in Korea and would go on to serve in the Army until 1970.
I spent 2 years in North Africa and Italy fighting the Nazis. I had seen enough of war, but I enjoyed being a soldier, and I stayed on when it was through. I was on peacekeeping duty in Japan when this Korean action kicked off. It was hard to believe we were in another hard fight so soon after the last one, and we were caught a little short at first. But me and my men, we've got it together now, and we've driven the communists back, fought hard with our allies to save this country. I know my experience in leadership has made a difference, helped these men survive some tough situations. God only knows how long this fight against the communists will last, but I'll stay with my men as long as they need me.
Less than a decade after the end of hostilities in Korea, the Army was again called upon to confront our nation's enemies in Southeast Asia. The Vietnam War was our nation's longest conflict before the campaign in Afghanistan. More than 58,000 Americans lost their lives in Vietnam. 1,609 Americans remain unaccounted for and are never forgotten. The men and women of our Army fought in incredibly challenging conditions, but never wavered in their courage and commitment to the nation and each other.
I'm on my third tour here in Vietnam. This is a tough fight in a whole lot of ways. My A team has done everything, from providing medical care to villagers up in the Central Highlands, to advising and fighting alongside the Vietnamese. I knew from the time I was a kid I was going to be in the Army, a career soldier, just like my dad. When I graduated the Special Forces course and my father put this green beret on me, I knew I was an expert in my profession. I was proud then, and I'm prouder now of what us soldiers are doing here in Nam.
This is the hardest work I've done in my life. Every day, I watch dozens of casualties come through my hospital. Some we can patch up and send back to their units, but most come here clinging to life, and there are many that just don't make it. My mom asked me how I can keep doing this. I don't know what to tell her, but I know what I'm doing is my calling, not just to be a nurse, but to be a soldier. Our country is pouring a lot of resources into Vietnam, but the most important ones are the men and women who wear the uniform. I just want to do my part to help them the best I can.
Man, when I got my draft notice a year ago, I was stunned. I never dreamed of being in the Army. But before I knew it, I completed basic training and found myself lugging this machine gun through the jungle in some nasty heat and humidity. Our battles with the enemy are just brutal. But our troops are more than a match for the VC. I lost some good friends, but it's comforting to know we're not in this alone. No matter what happens, our buddies always have our backs. Soldiering out here is difficult.
In the post-Vietnam era, thousands of American soldiers continued to serve the nation both in and out of uniform. Truly soldiers for life, They helped transform America's Army into an all-volunteer force that became the world's most professional and capable military team. Since the birth of our nation, American soldiers have always committed to a professional ethic of values, possess unquestionable character, and are highly competent. The drill team is the embodiment of these qualities. Members of the drill team are from all corners of the United States with a wide range of specialties. They have perfected their mission and are here to share it with you today. Ladies and gentlemen, your United States Army Drill Team. American soldiers have served and sacrificed in the Army to preserve our way of life, our values, and our future. The Army's trusted professionals have, are, and will always be prepared to defend the Constitution of the United States and answer America's call, whenever and wherever needed. The drill team represents today's soldiers as well as yesterday's heroes who proudly fought in the Revolutionary War and continued to serve in the hills of Afghanistan, throughout the Middle East, Europe, and Korea. Today, the Army has more than 184,000 soldiers assigned or allocated to combatant commanders in over 140 countries around the world. To execute any range of missions. This is done with the same trust, precision, discipline, and professionalism that the drill team displays with each rifle spin and coordinated move. Ladies and gentlemen, today the drill team is commanded by Captain Nathan Lease from Denver, Colorado. And now, the most difficult maneuver of all. The soldiers will continue to march as members from the front rank toss their rifle into the air over the formation to be caught by the soldier in the rear rank. This is again an exercise in trust, as each member will have to put their safety in the hands of their brothers in arms. This is the United States Army Drill Team's signature maneuver since 1958, the front to rear overhead rifle toss. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the ambassadors for today's Army, yesterday's heroes, and tomorrow's soldiers, your United States Army Drill Team! Battle-tested soldiers and leaders emerged from Vietnam, determined to bring about change in our Army. They created a highly professional, all-volunteer army that was superbly trained and expertly led. Throughout the last 2 decades of the 20th century, American soldiers conducted combat operations and humanitarian and peacekeeping missions in places like Grenada, Panama, Somalia, Haiti, and the Balkans. In 1990, America's Army, working side by side with joint and coalition partners, defeated the Iraqi military in just 100 hours of ground combat. Since September 11, 2001, the men and women of your Army have maintained a high state of readiness. American soldiers remain decisively engaged, taking the fight to our enemies around the globe, in concert with America's other armed services and our allies.
I am Staff Sergeant Cheryl Hawkins from San Diego, California, and I am an American soldier. I am a warrior and member of a team. I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values. For 242 years, soldiers have served our nation during profound change and conflict. The one constant, our values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Values that will continue to inspire our soldiers for the next 242 years.
I am Private First Class Monasia Young from New York. I will always place a mission first. I will never accept defeat. I will never quit. I will never leave a fallen comrade. I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills. I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself. These soldiers reflect our warrior ethos: tough, disciplined, talented, and proud of our heritage.
My name is Specialist Brad Stone from Charleston, South Carolina. I am an expert and I am a professional. I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America in close combat. I do not do this because I have to. I do it because this nation needs me. I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life. I am an American soldier, and we are Army Strong.
I'm just trying to be a father, raise a daughter and a son, be a lover to their mother, everything to everyone, up and at 'em bright and early, more business in my suit. I'm dressed up for success, from my head down to my boots. I don't do it for the money, there's bills that I can't pay. I don't do it for the glory, just do it anyway. Providing for our future is my responsibility. I'm real good under pressure, being all that I can be. And I can't call in sick on Monday when the weekend's been too strong. I just work straight through the holidays, sometimes all night long. You can bet that I stand ready when the wolf growls at the door. Hey, I'm solid, hey, I'm steady, hey, I'm true down to the core. And I will always do my duty, no matter what the price. I've counted up the cost, I know the sacrifice. I don't want to die for you, but if dying's asked of me, I'll bear that cross with honor. It's freedom, don't come free. Oh, an American soldier, an American. Beside my brothers and my sisters, I proudly take a stand. When liberty's in jeopardy, I'll always do what's right. I'm out here on the front line, sleep in peace tonight. American soldier, I'm an American soldier. I'll proudly take a stand. When liberty's in jeopardy, I'll always do what's right. I'm out here on the front line, sleep in peace tonight. American soldier, I'm an American, an American.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure for the United States Army to have presented Twilight Tattoo. Our soldiers will remain on the field and are available to answer your questions and pose for photographs. Thank you for coming out to help us honor the selfless service of American soldiers past and present. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Army Strong!